how's it going? Today we're going to play some games with Gardevoir EX. Now Gardevoir has been good for quite a while, and it got a couple new additions to the deck. First of all, it got the Munkidori, which is probably the most important addition. Munkidori's ability, of course, says if it has a dark energy attached, you can move 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. This does a couple key things. It lets our Gardevoir EX hit 220. It also heals our Pokemon, like our Gardevoir EX. If we want to attack with that, we can put a couple energy on it and attach from hand and attack with it with only 10 damage on it instead of 40. It lets Drifloon do 330 with a Bravery Charm. And there's this cool play that you can do against Lugia, or really any Iron Hands deck, where they knock out one of your guys, you Unfair Stamp them, hit him for 190 with Gardevoir after moving the 3 damage over with Munkidori, so they're at 220. And then your next turn, you can move 1 more damage counter over and knock it out. And then against Lugia, that gets around the Legacy energy and the Gift energy. And against future hands, that also gets around the Heavy Baton. And since we have the Munkidori now, we don't have to play Hero's Cape, so we can play the Unfair Stamp, which of course says if one of your Pokemon were knocked out last turn, both players shuffle their hand into their decks, you draw 5, your opponent draws 2. This is pretty good and disruptive because Gardevoir has a lot of small HP Pokemon, and you're going to be getting knocked out early, and your game plan is to Iono late game, so now you can reset stamp or Unfair Stamp early game and then Iono late game. It's pretty cool. We have a Temple of Sinnoh in the deck. You're going to want one of those or an Enhanced Hammer. I went with the Sinnoh because I want to be able to shut off Legacy energy and Gift energy in Lugia, and we're doing the TM Evo engine. I think you want to go second with this deck. I've seen people say you want to go first, but whenever I go first, it just doesn't feel good. When I go second, I can most often get off the TM Evo. And going first, a lot of the time I'm just using TM Evo on my second turn and not even really able to evolve up into many Kirlias. But we have the 1 Drifloon, 2 Bravery Charms, because you can recycle your Drifloon twice. And we have all these 1-of Pokemon, so of course we have a Heavy Ball. I noticed a lot of people are not playing the Mew EX. I really like the Mew EX. It just comes in handy for random attacks, and it can also draw you a couple cards every now and again. That's the list. Let's get into the games. Alright, so this first game here, we're up against Raging Bull Ogerpon, and I believe I won the coin flip and chose to go second because I don't think they would choose to go first. And like I said in the intro, I don't know, I've heard players that are better than me say that you go first with Gardy, but then I've also heard like Azul say that he, like, just in passing say that he goes second with it, so I don't know. I think second feels better personally, so I'm just going to keep going second. I also go second with like Lost Box and stuff that a lot of people seem to like to go first. It just feels better to go second. Now this hand isn't the best, but then we top deck Arven, so that is pretty lucky. And I can just get a bunch of Ralts out. And I'm not really sure what I'm looking at here, just debating getting an attacker instead of a Ralts maybe, but just checking the prizes. And I have a decent hand for next turn. I can get another Buddy Poffin and just establish an attacker maybe, or save it for some discard fodder. I probably want to, just get Drifloon and Mimikyu. I don't know, I don't really have to get the Mimikyu, but it really never hurts to have down in this matchup. Yeah, I'm unsure, because I like to have the Mimikyu on the board for matchups like this in case they have a random loss vacuum and knock out my Drifloon, and then I can just promote the Mimikyu, and then they have to either have a Gust effect or a 1-prize Pokemon like their Sandy Shocks. And this game is still from when I was playing the Luxurious Cape. I think I was playing 1 Luxurious Cape and 2 Bravery Charms, but decided to go down to just the 2 Bravery Charms. And they do get the boss on my Kirlia, that's pretty annoying. But yeah, the 2 Bravery Charms seems to be fine. You can usually find a way. You only need 2 to take all your prizes. You can figure out another workaround. And I put the charm onto my Drifloon. Get kind of a weird hand here. I draw back into the Luxurious Cape, which is kind of unfortunate. So now I have a Nest Ball for like a Screamtail and an Ultra Ball for my Gardevoir EX. That doesn't really leave my board the best, but I kind of want to knock out this Sandy Shocks before it knocks out too many more of my Pokemon. And I just reset their hand to 2, so I want to start putting on pressure right now. Yeah, it was just like, if this thing was weak to Psychic, maybe I could attack with the Flutter Mane. That would be kind of nice. Then they wouldn't be able to use one of their abilities, but I'm pretty sure it's weak to Grass. Or else hopefully I would have done that. It's not just kind of sucks I have to put all my energy on there, but what can you do? Hopefully next turn I'll draw into something and I counter catch to the Greninja just to make it less likely that they're gonna knock me out. Now they have to have energy for retreat as well as an energy to attack with. Oh, and they Iono, so they're not going to be attacking with their Raging Bolt this turn. Got pretty lucky with that Iono because it drew into a Kirlia, much better hand than the last one. Now they're just going to use their abilities. I think this is one of the reasons that Gardevoir has been doing so well online. It has a pretty good Raging Bolt matchup. It also doesn't have a terrible Lugia matchup. That matchup is closer to 50-50 probably than it ever has been. Lugia with the Legacy Energy and Iron Hands is very annoying. Oh, but they do bring up my Drifloon. That kind of sucks because that's one of my Bravery Charms down. Maybe I shouldn't have attached that. I think you kind of want to save the Bravery Charms for the last second. Like until you're about to use them to actually take a knockout, because I've lost a couple games from just only being able to use one Bravery Charm, which maybe that is enough reason to run an extra HP boosting tool. And now I can get another Kirlia down and also get rid of that energy. And now I will be able to knock out this Raging Bolt off of the bench with my Screamtail. Just debating which tool to put on. I probably want to do this and put them on odd prizes and not attach, because the Luxurious Cape gives up an extra prize. So I think I would probably even go for a third Bravery Charm before I add the Luxurious Cape back in, or I thought about a Roseanne's backup, because then you could also recycle the Stadium against Lugia, but there's really not many other decks that you want the Stadium against. Oh, and they just attack, and now I can just promote my Mimikyu as kind of like a safe Pokemon to have in the active. Get my Drifloon back out that I just put in, and now I'm safe to put the Luxurious Cape on it, because even if they take 2 prizes, I should almost definitely be able to find a way to get 1 prize next turn. And I keep the Ultra Ball there because if I keep my hand next turn, I'm either going to have to get a Gardevoir EX if they knock out my Gardy, or a basic attacker. So either way, I don't mind having to Ultra Ball for it. It just leaves me more options. Now I can load up this Drifloon, do 300 damage. Kind of crazy on this little guy. I don't know, another card that, now that I'm watching this back, is maybe a little more cuttable than I thought is the second Vessel. Because I've been noticing I have an extra one. It is very nice to be able to draw into that naturally though, instead of having to Arven for it. And with the kind of relatively low count of energy, you really want to pull them out of the deck as fast as possible. And also now with the Munkidori, you want to have the option to Vessel for the Dark Energy. Which of course we're running 2 Dark Energy. I would love to run 1. But I don't know. I've noticed this is a really bad reason to play an extra card, but there's a few games when I really needed the Dark Energy and it was prized. And I figured you might as well run a second one instead of risking having that happen, which should, in theory, that really should never happen. So that's a terrible reason to do something. But I looked at other lists too and saw a lot of other people running 2 Dark. So I was like, alright, I guess maybe 2 Dark is correct. we'll probably know a little more after NAIC. And now they knocked out my Mimikyu, so I can just Ultra Ball for Mew here and win with the Mew attack, Mew EX. Pretty awesome. I love this card, and it's cool that I get to win a game with it. Now I'm just hoping that my opponent doesn't concede and lets me just do my attack. Because, of course, Raging Bolt's attack discards any energy, so I can discard 4 Psychic Energy and knock out the Raging Bolt. But as soon as they see me retreat into the Mew, they concede. Alright, we're up against Lugia, and I've probably been trying to get Gardy games on the ladder for 4 days now, I think. And all I've played against is Raging Bolt and Lugia. It's been kind of ridiculous. It's pretty weird and annoying, and I wanted to get some games up against some different decks, but it's just been a lot of this, so yeah, what can you do? So I just Arven here, you know, the typical Gardy start. And I started the Mew. I was kind of unsure if I should start the Mew EX. It does have free retreat though. And I didn't want to have to leave one of my Ralts in the active spot to TM Evo with it. So I just ended up starting the Mew EX. And also I'm debating Nest Balling here to be able to Mew for 1, but I think I just keep the Nest Ball because it just leaves me more options for next turn. Just evolve up my guys. Yeah, Lugia is just kind of everywhere, and the only other deck I've really been seeing is Raging Bolt. I guess Lugia probably has a decent Raging Bolt matchup, even though Raging Bolt is just so aggressive that it might just be able to beat Lugia sometimes. I would imagine though that the Cinccino's kind of swing that matchup towards Lugia. And they Summoning Star for 1 here. That is definitely a mistake against Gardy. You don't really want to do that. This is also kind of how a lot of my games have been going with Gardy. Is they either can't get the turn 2 Summoning Star and leave a Lugia V on their bench, but take a knockout with like a Cinccino, and then I counter catch to the Lugia. Or like this, where they get 1 Archeops out and take a knockout, and then I counter catch to their Archeops. So all I have to, yeah, I definitely Mew first just to see an extra 2 cards deep. And I got what I needed to get the knockout, which was just a couple energy and a Kirlia to get rid of them, and a Gardy EX. I also have Unfair Stamp, and I might as well probably use that now, because this is really the only chance that I'm going to get to Unfair Stamp them and not be hitting into a gift energy. I do have the Sinnoh, but I don't know. This just seems like a good time to Unfair Stamp them. It just sucks because I have the 2 Bravery Charms in hand, which I would like to keep. I do draw back into another one though, so that's kind of nice. I have that in Super Rod for next turn. Of course, the 60 damage will do enough to knock out this Archeops. And they will be able to knock me out back, but then they shouldn't be able to do anything. And I've had this happen a lot against Lugia, which makes me think Gardy's favored. When they get out 2 Archeops, then of course they get a research off of the Unfair Stamp, but when they get 2 Archeops out, the game gets a lot harder and you kind of need things to go your way. You need to draw into the Sinnoh at a good time. They put down a jamming tower, which is really annoying. But I'm probably just going to start attacking with my EX. And I send up the EX instead of the Mew with free retreat, because in case something else comes up where maybe I do end up being able to knock out the Lugia or something, I want to be able to retreat this energy off of the Gardy. So where normally you would just no-brainer send up the Mew EX, I wanted to keep my options open for other attacks. Now I get the Munkidori, which is kind of nice. That's kind of what I was looking for there, so I don't have to attack with a as damaged of a EX. I'm just debating whether or not that's going to screw me over in the long run, because now I have like no huge damage hitters on the bench, like no Drifloon or Screamtail, and I don't know if they can really fully take advantage of that without their Archeops in play. Yeah, the Mist energy always makes me second guess moving the damage counters over to it, but Mist only stops effects of attacks, not abilities. I'm just going to use this Super Rod now because they could Iono me, and I'm going to want those cards in the deck anyway. And increase the odds of me drawing into a Kirlia. And they draw off the gift because I couldn't find my Sinnoh or anything. And now after this next Sinnoh, if they don't get another Sinnoh down, the only way they can attack again right away is, I think, a double turbo on a Blood Moon Ursaluna. Yeah, I think that is it. But they won't have a way to retreat into it, which kind of causes me to mess up a little bit here. And they could do 120 with a double turbo on another Sinnoh. So I just need to keep in mind how much damage they can do. And I do top deck another Kirlia, so it kind of pays off having putting them back into the deck. I can get the rest of the energy out. This is why I do like the second vessel, because it comes in handy like this. And now I have the option to boss, which, I don't know. I debated for a second because I could get around the gift, but I just want to knock out this Sinnoh before they get too many energy on it. It's like their last meaningful attacker, so it's probably just a good idea to take it out now while I have it in front of me. And I Arven here for Ultra Ball, and I don't know. I was kind of... I saw the Blood Moon Ursaluna and was thinking they could attack with that next turn, but they just can't. They kind of tricked me a little bit by grabbing that, I guess. And now I'm really struggling with what to get rid of here. I do get rid of the Iono because I have one prize, so I'm thinking I have good odds of pulling it off the prizes. And when I was playing that Ultra Ball, I was also thinking that I need to attack with a new Gardy EX. But now I'm just like, you can see my mouse moving back and forth. I'm doing the math. I don't have to attack with a new Gardy EX. I'm not getting knocked out here. I can just keep moving damage to the Lugia so that I can eventually knock that out with a Gardy EX attack. And just knock out this Sinnoh. Because they can't retreat into a Blood Moon with a double turbo. They can only jet the Blood Moon into the active. And the Blood Moon needs more energy on it than that right now. And at this point in games where I'm this far ahead, all I'm doing is thinking, how could I possibly lose this game? And then I try to play around that. That's why I went out of my way to get the Gardy EX, but I should have just thought for another second longer. But yeah, they end up conceding. Alright, so that last game was kind of boring, but I didn't want to just do 2 Raging Bolt games, and all the other games I got with Lugia were even worse. The player conceded much quicker, and that person actually, I don't know, put up kind of a good fight for not having the Pokemon that they need to win games in play. But I thought this game was kind of funny, so I threw it in. So they went first and set up their board. Now I went and I did not get the turn 1 Arven, but I got the TM Evo, so I guess that's just as good, right? And I have to throw down the Mew just to draw a couple cards and evolve up my Kirlias. Now my hand sucks, but I can discard both these energies next turn, which is very nice. And I throw down the Mimikyu to, I don't know, it's just a good matchup for it. They're forced to put their little guy in play. And if they fill their bench, I can just kind of stick this Mimikyu in the active and, I don't know, kind of hope they can't gust around it a bunch, which they do. So, and they get a boss, which is kind of annoying because they're probably going to knock out my Mew or one of my Kirlias. Kind of happy they picked my Mew because I really wanted to keep both these Kirlias in play. But they do go right down to 4 prizes. So I promote the Ralts because that's the thing with the energy. And now I should just start trading. I was thinking about using the Nest Ball for Greninja first, but kind of want to see what happens with this hand before I make any decisions. Because at this point, I could just stick the Mimikyu in the active and they would never be able to take enough prizes as long as I can Turo eventually. Which ends up becoming kind of an idea, but still right now I'm just hoping to get enough to attack with. And I'm thinking about Nest Balling for a Drifloon there and just trying to get the attack, but I end up just kind of taking it slow. I can just stick the Mimikyu in the active and hopefully buy a turn. They only have 4 cards in hand. They use their boss. A lot of the times, I think these decks are only playing like 1 boss and a prime catcher and some Pokemon catchers. But they do get their Pal Pad. That's kind of rough. So I still have the option to Turo one of my other Pokemon out of play and then only have 3 prizes for them on the board. And they have no way to attack my Mimikyu right now. I heard Ian Robb say that he didn't play the Mimikyu in his Gardy list right now on a podcast, and I don't know, I just really like it. I guess that's why he like wins 5 regionals and stuff though, because he doesn't put cards in his decks just because he thinks they're cool. But I like the Mimikyu. It gives me cheesy win conditions like this. I think it comes in handy because I got a really slow start this game. And I do throw the Drifloon down, which is kind of dumb, but at this point I'm still planning on just attacking. I can still go 2, 4, 6 for my prizes, but I don't think I even got enough energy. I might have been able to knock out that Raging Bolt right there. I'm not really too sure. But I just end up Ionoing because I don't think that they're going to find a way to get around my Mimikyu. Oh, this is kind of stupid. Now that I'm watching this game back, they get the Pokestop. All I want them to hit is a boss. They don't hit it. Like Greninja. I don't know what's going on with like this game though. I can't find a Gardy EX. It's kind of unfortunate. They hit their Prime Catcher, so they can knock out either Drifloon or one of my Kirlias. I think this is kind of the point where I'm like, oh, I might just be too far behind. Well, I would need to take 2 prizes this turn and have them never find a Gust effect on my Gardy EX. So I think I might have better odds of just sticking the Mimikyu active and hoping that they can't ever get around it. I don't know, and I've just played so many Raging Bolts in a row at this point that I'm kind of defeated by it, and I just want to see if they can have a way to attack my guy. They'd have to play a penny, and they'd have to have a penny. I guess they could penny and retreat their Ogerpon there with the energy. But I remove another prize out of play. So now I have to Pal Pad the Turo back in to be able to Turo up another Pokemon at some point. And I'm debating counter-catching this other Raging Bolt, because I could knock this out in 2 turns with Mimikyu, and then the turn after that try and knock out the other Raging Bolt with my Drifloon. But I think they're just too far through their deck at this point, and they're probably going to have too many options for me to free up a bench spot for them. They get the catcher. They would have won this game if they flipped catcher heads, I'm pretty sure. So I think, oh no, that was only their first tails. Never mind. And they're burning through their deck, and that kind of contributes to me wanting to just leave Mimikyu in the active too, because they're getting way closer to decking out than they probably should. I don't know what, I guess they're digging for boss. They must be, yeah, but they just pass. And now I only have 15 cards in my deck, so if they have like a super out or something, that could put me behind in the deck out race, but I really want to find that Turo before they are able to gust 3 times. And now I can just Turo my Kirlia and hit into this with Mimikyu one more time. Now, I never plan on knocking this out in this line. I'm just, I don't know, there's no point in not hitting it for 70 more damage. And they show me the Sandy Shocks, like that's, I don't know. I feel like they're like, haha, I have an answer. I don't know why they wouldn't just leave that in the deck. Oh, they do hit a catcher heads, alright. And they Sada, they must not have gotten an energy because now they only have 4 cards in their deck. And they can Bellowing Thunder. But yeah, I would have like kind of just left the Sandy Shocks in the deck and not let my opponent know if I actually expected them to knock out my Raging Bolt. Because now, even if I never planned on knocking it out at this point, but even if I did, now I wouldn't, because I know you can just knock out my Mimikyu. So I stick a Bravery Charm on the guy, and basically just gonna end up passing. Yeah, I think this is kind of funny, and without Mimikyu, you don't even have the option for this, and I'm sure plenty of games will come up that that you can use Mimikyu to buy some turns, or maybe just outright win the game. And they have Collapsed and Lost Vacuum in a Raging Bolt deck, which is kind of wild to me. Like, what in the world? And they have the Super out for the 3 extra energy, and they put 3 grass back in, and they just concede. I think they needed to put a fighting back in, or they just couldn't get out of the active spot, and by the time they actually would be able to take their prizes, I think they would have decked out already. So they just end up conceding. Kind of thought that game was funny, so I wanted to throw it in there. But that was the Gardevoir deck, and I think it's in a pretty good spot right now. It seems to have a lot of good matchups the way that the meta is shaping up. It's just inherently a powerful deck. You have a lot of options. It's really versatile. And yeah, we'll see how it does at NAIC. I think a lot of good players are going to end up playing it from what it sounds like. But yeah, take care and have a good one.